Yeah, I don't think Dave will be here because I think his wife's in the hospital.
Now we're live. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Bill and Ammon's Bogus Hangout. I've got Terry with me. Terry, you want to introduce yourself?
Terry Van Horn, parts unknown.
And I'm Bill Slosky, author of SEO by the Sea and director of SEO research at Go Fish Digital. So, we were talking a little bit before we started about standards. And
Yeah.
that reminded me, did you see the news about Sempo closing down? They haven't closed as much as they've been folded into the Digital Analytics Association, which is run by Jim Stern.
Yeah, who I think was on the original committee that started Sempo.
I'm not sure if he was, but he's been running the Digital Analytics Association for
Jim
a few
Stern
years.
also had a company that did the inclusion for Inktomi, correct?
I don't know.
I think so.
All I know about it is he's been doing analytics for years, and
okay.
he's been showing up in some search conferences speaking for years too.
Right.
So he doesn't just do analytics; he does search-related stuff.
So it won't really, Sempo won't really be what it was before then.
They'll have what I read about the merger joining with the DAA is that they'll be bringing out a special interest group, search related, for all the people who are from Sempo who are joining in. And it'll be a focus on search for that part of it.
Time to open SEO Pros again, I think.
Well, it's interesting to see. The industry sort of seems like it's growing up a little bit.
Well, there aren't really that many places, legit places, that people can go and see a list of, say, 30 or 40 companies. That's, some kind of vetting has been done beyond the passing of money from one hand to the other.
Yeah.
Which is, that's what our industry basically has been. Pros was the only one that actually reviewed companies.
Well, Sempo has been around for a fairly long time now.
Just after SEO Pros.
It's been 15 years.
Oh, yeah. I could show you the initial.
Maybe longer. Was it 2003 they started that?
Somewhere between 2003 and 2005 at the very latest, Bill.
Yeah.
Because it was shortly after I started SEO Pros that Sempo came out. And, we were doing well until Hilltop and Florida update, and all SEOs thought because we had links on the site pointing to that this was bad. Like every link off of any site is bad, because it's a directory.
Florida was November 2003.
Something like that, yeah. And we'd been up at least 2 or 3 years before that. Might have been 2000 when I can look up the initial domain registration.
Yeah.
And you can probably look in iSearch's archives for the announcement.
Mm-hmm. It's good to see that make that move if they're going to actually be active.
Well, there was 2 things that I always thought looking at their thing. One, in either country, it's actually for an organization to promote their members. That's actually against the law. Like the what would you call them? The statutes that govern that say you can't really promote members on that site.
Right, but as a trade organization who's actually willing to make statements about things happening within the industry, that's not a bad thing.
Nope, and there was always a close affiliation between search engine strategies, especially when Danny owned it, because he was on the original organizing committee of Sempo. Not many people know that. It was only for a very, very short time. And he was more like an advisor, I believe, to them.
And Mike Grehan was also involved to some degree.
Mike Grehan is president from about 3-4 years ago, I believe, just before Chris Boggs.
Yeah.
Both of them I've spoken to about standards. And we actually tried to get something happening at one of the search engine strategies. There's a room and everything. But none of my people went because they scheduled it at dinner time, at lunch. And they felt they had better things to do than to go to that.
I might have been at that search engine strategies looking for that meeting.
Pardon me?
So I may have been at that search engine strategies
Yeah.
looking for that meeting.
Yeah. We never, and it was supposed to try and get all the different organizations to get behind something, right? And
Yeah.
I could go further into what, besides the timing.
Yeah.
But that doesn't further anything. It just muddles the puddle.
Mm-hmm.
But I was looking at OMCP yesterday, and I'm quite impressed. Like the instructors as well, too. It's not like people I've never heard of. That's what bothers me, is you go to a lot of these places and the people teaching you've never even heard of.
I don't remember what OCMP stands for. Do you recall?
No.
No. It's an organization. It was started on the heels of Marketing Motive, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's related to it.
Well, and then I think part of the reason it happened was the person who's head of OMCP was part of Market Motive, and they sold up to another company.
Right.
And he basically non-competes, so he's doing this, I guess. But it was the next step, because you can't have. Here's what I always thought was wrong, even with the way I was trying to do it, was I felt like there should be a examination body, right? And then teachers, right? And have that separate, and a large committee looking after the examinations, right?
Yeah.
That no one could really do that or get on board with it until Michael did it. And I think it's an excellent idea.
Yeah.
Because at some point, people are going to not want to have to go by their gut instinct when they hire an SEO. Like when you walk into almost any other profession, doctor, lawyer, legitimate, they have some sort of certificate on the wall that says they have, at least a bar is being set for the competency.
Yeah.
And what I liked about OMCP too is it has to be updated every 2 years. So that's even better than lawyers who, could take the bar in 1900 and never take it again,
Lawyers do have a continuing education requirement under their bars. So they do have to take some classes that refresh your skills.
What do they all just get together and have a few?
They try to do more than that. They actually try to have classes where they learn something from each other,
Yeah.
because there's only so much you can do to gather together and have a few drinks and say that it's an official meeting.
Yeah, that's true.
If somebody from complains about having a meeting like that, they could
That ends it pretty quick.
Yeah. And you have doctors who have continuing education too, and sometimes those are sponsored by pharmaceutical companies
Yep.
who want to put them on a cruise or something like that and get them to prescribe more of their medicines.
And there's some of that at OMCP, Salesforce, and a few others. Google is actually on the committee as well. So they're not actually doing the test, but they are basically giving them the okay. We don't see any problem with it, which is about as much as you'll ever get out of them in that way, I'm pretty sure.
But that's encouraging. They're involved with that. Yeah.
Yes. Bing as well.
And we see Google and Bing both participate in conferences like SMX and PubCon. So they're involved in the industry.
Well, they have to be. I think, the days of a guy from Google getting up and saying at SES and saying, "I hate all of you. You're all a bunch of crooks." Those days are over, I think.
Well, didn't Larry Page show up at one of the early ones and say, "Hey, we've got this thing. It's called Backrub"?
I could see it.
Yeah.
And Yahoo, when I was when I first started writing HTML and stuff, Yahoo actually had in the HTML Writers Guide in their news group, they actually had given a password to go to the front of the line at Yahoo, noting that, the best HTML writers were probably at the guild. That was back when, I think HTML2 was just coming out, I believe. Cougar.
They were calling it Yahoo at that time. It had passed the Ben and Jerry's web directory name.
Oh yeah, it was before. It was right near the beginning of Yahoo, when they were, still trying to get people to come to them, right? Make it easy.
I remember I was doing computer support, setting up computers for people in the courthouse I worked at. And one of the decisions we had to make was, what were we going to make the homepage of their web browser? And at that point in time, that was around that time, we chose Yahoo.
Best search engine.
Well, it was when Yahoo was still a web directory.
Right. Hybrid search engine.
Yeah.
They always backfilled with something from somebody.
Well, we thought it was the most useful thing we could put people on.
Well, it was back then. Yeah. I remember when there were no search engines when I first started.
Yeah. And then Alta Vista came along, and Google not too much longer after that.
Yeah. Well, there were some meta search engines too before that incorporated a whole bunch. That's what was my favorite before Google.
It was like the World Wide Web crawler.
Oh, I forget the name of it, but it actually crawled Google and about 4 other search engines as well. Their results.
I think that one was 1994, World Wide Web crawler.
That might be it.
Alta Vista wasn't until 95.
It was Meta something. Might have been Metacrawler.
Metacrawler. Yeah, that was That was before Alta Vista too.
Yeah, Dog Pile.
I'm not sure when that one started, but that one was around that time too.
Yeah, it had a bit of search built into
a
it.
meta search engine. It searched like 4 other search engines.
Yeah,
Give you the results. Yeah.
those are the days, eh? SEO is basically build the pages and submit them to directories. That was all you had. In fact, my biggest source of traffic was I had a newsletter, and every time I release a newsletter, I get a bunch of traffic.
I had a couple clients who were doing newsletters, and every once in a while they would ask me, should I keep on doing this? I said, I'm looking at your analytics right now. You released a newsletter last Tuesday, right? How'd you know? I said,
Because that's the only day there's traffic. Yeah, I'd get like 50 that one day, and then, the rest of the month or until you published again, you get a couple now and again.
Said, keep on publishing those. Don't stop.
Newsletters are good, especially if you have a, what do you call them? Something that has recurring orders, right?
Yeah, it was a e-commerce site that had specialty artwork like candle holders and things like that. And the person who wrote it would go find these products from different art studios, and she would sponsor them. And in her newsletter she would have pictures of her visits to the art studios. It was really interesting. A lot of people liked it and kept on subscribing to it and visited her site when she published. So it was worth continuing to publish them.
Yep.
I mean, that's a kind of creative thing that I'm not sure how much is going on today, but it's a good thing to keep on doing.
Yep. I may have to run occasionally over to the pot to stir it. I got my spaghetti sauce on.
Ah.
It's every 15 or 20. So what else has been in the news this week?
Well, you saw the featured snippet stuff from last week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Overdone already. Not worth discussing. I think people see something like that and they're just too quick to move. It's like, the sky is falling. I'm going to try and prop it up here. And, but you can't stop the sky from falling. It's going to fall. Wait till the, pieces land and pick them up and put it back together. I used to have basically a rule, don't do nothing for 2 weeks.
So you heard about Jump Shot, the company that was started by Avast, and Avast is a free antivirus software, and they were taking the web browsing habits of users of Avast and selling that as data to clickstream providers, SEO tool makers. They're not the only company that does that. And Google yesterday it was revealed that Google was sending those photo stories they make. If you sign up for Google Photos, they sometimes deliver you photo stories with your photos and accompanying music, and they refer to it as a story.
Right.
They were sending stories to people who didn't belong to those photos. They did a lot of them.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's not good.
No. It's some kind of bug that you don't want happening.
Or it was look the other way for a minute, boys.
Well, it probably wasn't right. I mean, think about all the information that web big web companies collect about their users, and they're supposed to be responsible. They're supposed to ask permission before they use that in any way.
How many do you think? Not many.
It's hard to tell. I went looking for privacy statements and privacy policies from Google, Apple, Amazon, Twitter, Facebook yesterday because I wanted to find out more about what they're doing. Apple has a page where they talk about privacy, where they say things like, we don't require that people sign on before they use Apple Maps. So we don't track where they're going to individually.
Right.
Of course, what it doesn't say, and it's left off, is that every iPhone has an Apple ID attached to it.
Right. So it's anonymous information. It doesn't have your name on it, but they're still gathering all the information that they want.
Related to that ID. And it's possible that they could associate that ID with the individual who owns that device.
Oh, if they bought a warranty or something like that, they could match it up, eh?
There are ways to like ping your phone from your iPad or something like that. And it's got to associate that phone with your iPad. So there's got to be some type of connection there.
Okay.
So I'm thinking about these. There's Apple IDs for fight devices. There are Android IDs for Android phones. Again,
you also, when they first started Google Plus, they made you Android users sign up to Google Plus, right? They stopped that eventually, but they at first.
It's quite possible they
did. They made Android phones sign into. You had to sign up for Google Plus to start the phone, basically.
And they were using Google Plus as a version of Google My Business.
Google Plus turned into brand pages and Google My Business. Yes.
If you want to check whether or not a company you're working with was verified in Google My Business, you could check their brand page in Google Plus. And if we had a check mark, they were verified in Google My Business. So there was that, there are ways of connecting that data, that information with individuals.
Some individuals, yes, that they had certain data from other programs.
Google Maps, to use that, you pretty much have to sign in. Apple Maps, I didn't know that you didn't have to sign in to Apple Maps to use it.
But you don't have to sign in. Oh, do you have to sign in to check maps on the search? I don't think so. Like the local listings are on Google Maps, correct?
Local listings are on Google Maps. I think that there was some talk of an incognito Google Maps as a rumor. I think you still need to be signed into Google to use Google Maps.
Oh, I'll have to check that out. I don't have a membership.
They do have to collect enough information to be able to identify your location.
They know my location from years ago when I did sign up so that I could put locations on the maps.
Yeah.
So I signed up for that reason.
and to know what your preferred language is, which they can get from your browser. But they need to have some information about you to be able to do that.
Oh, they know by the version of the browser you have.
The browser has a language setting, and
Right.
when you use a browser, visit them, it provides a footprint where it shows like what type of extensions you have on your browser and some of your settings, like the language you're using, your preferred language.
Right.
So Google can recognize that different people are visiting different pages based upon the browser footprint.
Right.
And
They
I don't
also
know,
track people through the cookies for AdWords and stuff, right?
right.
No getting away from them, man. That's the way it is. That's the way. If you want to be totally anonymous, unplug your computer.
It's probably the most likely way to get away with that.
That's the only. If you want your computer safe, unplug it.
Are you familiar with the Tor browser?
Tor?
It's a browser that goes through a proxy.
No, no.
You can do searches on the Tor browser, and this way you don't have any personally identifiable information to give away because you're going through a browser. They're not collecting information about you as a user or about your browser because it's not leaving that kind of footprint.
Yeah, I'm not that paranoid about, you know.
Well, some people are, and
Well, then they shouldn't be on the net.
they're taking what steps they think are safe.
Yeah, but you're still not really that safe.
I would agree. Yeah.
How many of them would know cross-browser scripting and all the other nonsense that can go on underneath the whole thing? It's not as bad as back in the early 2000s, but it's still an issue. You know, even though the browsers have some built-in protection now,
Yeah.
it's, you know, still, I wouldn't count on it. Yeah, since I put good soft security software on my computer, I haven't had any malware or nothing. And if I go to bad websites or even a website that I found where sometimes this company will even flag a website that let their certificate run out.
Yeah.
And it doesn't leave immediately, right?
Yeah.
It becomes a warning for a long time. That's ESET node 32. Best for me, that kind of software.
Yeah. I'm using a anti-spam software. They have a security program to go with it. I'm looking at that for my website. It puts a firewall up on the website to avoid some of the other people who spam comments and stuff like that, and to people who try to
Turn comment. Well, you get a lot of comments, so I can see, but on most blogs, I just turn the comments off because it's just it's gonna be full of spam, and you'll get hardly anything legit. Nobody comments like they used to on blogs, except for blogs like yours.
I'm getting less comments, and it's because I'm deleting a lot of first posts. Thank you for blogging.
Oh, thank you. Or good post.
Yeah.
Or the ones where they, try and compliment you so you won't take it down.
Yeah. But sometimes people actually have thoughts that are worth sharing and questions worth asking.
Or can show you where you should go next with that topic.
Yeah.
Yep, there's information you can gain. I remember when I first did videos on YouTube, we were putting them up, and I learned more from the comments than I did from anything else. People basically saying, "Yeah, these salesmen get them off here," and they complained a lot. So I went to the owner and said, "Look, get real guitar players and real players. Don't get the talking heads. Get the guys who are just going to play it and talk about it while they're playing it. That's
Yeah.
all you need. That's probably best."
Yeah, if you have semi-skilled guitar players who are salesmen first and foremost, you're
Well,
going to turn off your audience.
yeah, well, a couple of the guys there were like guitar techs for what's his name? Ozzy Osbourne.
Nice.
I actually had backstage tickets for Ozzy, one of my favorites. But SARS was in Toronto and he wouldn't see anybody because of it. But I got into the show free. That was good.
Good. It's nice when you have a job that has perks like that. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, plus I learned a lot about video from that, doing that one client from, start to finish. The
Yeah.
same videos are there and literally millions of hits. They've had close to 40 million hits. But that's been up since probably the day that the YouTube announcement was made. I phoned them and said, "Yeah, you should set up a studio and start making videos now." Because that was before they were even in the results. I said, because I can't see them spending $1 billion and not putting them in
Yeah.
the results. They got bigger ideas than what the media is talking about. And that was basically the beginning of universal search. They were putting some shopping in there before, weren't they? Some frugal results.
So Marissa Mayer started working on what became Universal Search in 2001. They didn't actually have a working beta until 2003.
Right.
They didn't buy YouTube until 2005, but videos were envisioned in Universal Search from day one.
Yeah, because Google actually had their own video site before YouTube, and then saw that YouTube was way outgrowing them and bought it instead of trying to grow their own.
It was funny for a while. Google had YouTube and they had Google videos.
Yeah.
And Yahoo had Yahoo Pictures, Yahoo Photos, and Flickr, and a bunch of other duplicate services like that.
Yeah.
It was like people aren't capable of making up their minds what direction they want to go.
Yeah. Well, I think some of it was kind of like when you look at it, some of them that started out as video are now streaming, like Hulu.
Yeah.
They're huge streamers. That's basically are one of the main streamers for the Star Trek stuff.
I signed up to be do some user testing for Google. I agreed to that. And I signed up for that like 3 years ago. They finally sent me something. They finally sent me something that I could say I want to do this, and they agreed to it. They didn't say you're a marketer, you're not allowed. So it was about uh, you, it was about the usability of YouTube and how to find stuff. It was for some of the live streaming stuff that's on YouTube that I know too much about. There is some live streaming events and so on YouTube that are pretty interesting. They didn't label them very well. The usability study involved having an app on my computer that could record my voice, so I could look at sites and talk about them, what I liked, what I disliked, what I thought about them. And it was about some of the live activity. You know, they ended up sending me a $75 gift card for participating. And then I learned more about YouTube than I knew, because I didn't know they had all the live streaming events. So the creator studios that they have there, they have live creator events where they go to different places and they broadcast live from those places they go to. And some of the live streaming events were like somebody pointing a picture at a newscast. It's like, what's the point of that? And I commented on that. I complained about that in the usability study. It's like, why would I watch this? I don't understand. It's like I can turn my TV on and watch something like this.
Right.
So you live stream something because it's taking place right then and right there. It's your only chance to see it. It's not scripted. It's not rehearsed.
Right. If you're, yeah, that's not live streaming. That's a play.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they had somebody playing ambient music, and it sounded like it was pre-recorded.
Oh, nice.
And that was
So a little elevator music with your bad video, eh?
Yeah, that was one of the ones that they sent me to, and I said, you know, I wouldn't look for this. I wouldn't go to this. It's not necessarily the kind of music I listen to anyway, but it's really, if this is supposedly live streaming, there's nobody performing right now. It's like somebody's playing a tape recorder.
Right.
I mean, why would you call that live streaming?
I guess that's one way to get it seen.
Maybe. The 24-hour ambient music channel. Why do you call this live streaming? Makes no sense. Oh.
So what else was happening, Bill, this week?
It's a good question. Don't track the news as much as I should. I wrote my blog post a couple weeks ago about podcasts, and I've been listening to a lot of podcasts lately.
Ah. What? How? Now that was for podcasts, right? But it wasn't necessarily searching podcasts. It was something else, wasn't it?
Well, the patent itself was about how Google Podcasts, the app, Google Podcast app, allows people to search for podcasts and allows them to search through different episodes and different shows and how they present those.
Is that Google Play?
No,
Oh, okay.
there's a Google Play store where you can search for music,
And find nothing?
but there's a app, Android app,
Oh, okay. Just for podcasts.
just for podcasts, and it actually has a lot of the podcasts I looked for there.
Oh, okay.
I was surprised. Yeah, iTunes covers a lot of things. They didn't have some of the SEO podcasts that I was looking for, but Google
Yeah.
Podcasts did.
Oh, really? Because usually I run all ours through iTunes.
Yeah.
I think, that's where most of our traffic comes from.
And I found the pages where you submit your podcasts to Google Podcasts. I include that in my post. And I think I listed about 20 different SEO podcasts in my post too.
How did they find them by searching?
I found them by searching the Google Podcast app.
How does it find them? That's what I'm wondering. Are they submitted?
People submit them to it. Yeah.
Then I'm going to submit mine in there when I start.
Absolutely. Yeah.
We got some new dojo ones coming, and I bet you I could go to Libsyn, which specializes in podcasts. That's who I do all my distribution through and recording. And I bet you they might even be hooked up to that already, because that's how I got. Like, I tried to get into iTunes. It's really complicated to get into it. But as soon as I signed up for Libsyn and they submitted, took it right away. Even when there was, no, we don't put any rating on ours because of some of the language that's used. Normal for Canadians, but other people down south may be offended, deep south.
Well, the patent involving podcasts from Google describe a dozen or so different ways that they might rate podcasts and they might rank them. And one of those included having human evaluators listening to them and ranking them. But that's one. So I don't think it's too difficult to sign up to that.
Yeah. The evaluation, though, if you're not an SEO, can you really evaluate an SEO?
There are some things you can evaluate stuff on, like quality of audio.
Right. Is it, do they take out popping and all, is it edited well and that sort of thing?
Another thing is they'll listen to see if the podcasts are episodic or periodic. If they're periodic and you need to listen to the first one before you listen to the second one, and the second one before you listen to the third one. Right. So you have to listen to them in a steady stream. In some cases, and they want to identify that. They want to say, these are individual episodes.
Yeah, in iTunes, you actually tell them this is, you have seasons and episodes.
Yeah.
And I don't put either of those either. Because we were at one point every week, like do the regulators, but that ceased. So
yeah, I wasn't aware of all the distinctions that they might try to rank or rate podcasts on.
Yeah, I should go over and read that one. You finally finished it, eh?
Yeah.
Well, I smell my sauce.
And I switched my template on my blog to the one you were talking about last week. I think Terry's multitasking. So Google added a speed to Google Search Console. So you can see how quick or slow your site is, and it's got a desktop and a mobile. So you can compare how fast you are on mobile and desktop. And my site was medium speed, mostly medium speed on desktop and slow on mobile. So I switched to Generate Press, my template.
How'd you do?
I'm waiting to find out. It's not showing the results yet. They're like 2 days behind for the speed.
Mm.
But it's reduced. It's sped the site up significantly.
That is a really good theme.
Yeah.
That was why I originally got it, was for the speed, and then I started. If you really get into the development of it, you can build a site in a day easily, where it take me 2 or 3 days to figure out how a theme worked. This one's pretty, you turn the things on and then you go fill them out and you're done.
They've streamlined a lot of it, huh?
Yeah. Yeah. And I like that it has you can get away with using a lot less plugins because it gives the ability to put in PHP wherever you want, put stuff into the head, put stuff after the HTML, all that stuff, right? Or just before the HTML tag. That's very good. And where I'm doing programming and it's a certain piece, can just plug it right in there. Reduces the number of plugins, and I'm a firm believer. The fewer, the better.
Yeah, I'm heading in that belief, in that direction, absolutely.
Yeah. See, in one of my sites right now, I have 3 plugins. That's it. The Generate Press plugin.
Yeah.
All-in-one SEO and Backup Buddy. That's all I've got for plugins. If I want to do an author thing, all I have to do is tell it, grab the author information out of the thing. It actually has hooks right into the WordPress stuff. It's really, really cool. But you have to spend the time to read through and see all the things you can do with it.
So you have to get a proficiency in the theme. Understand what it's capable of.
Yeah. The more you use it, the more you'll learn. But the documentation is awesome.
Yeah.
That's how I learned it all, was through using the documentation.
So the idea of plugins isn't bad. The fact that you can add utility, you can add additional things.
Right. Those plugins aren't bad. It's the way they're programmed that's bad.
But when you end up with a site that's Swiss cheese with so many holes in it because you've got plugins on plugins on plugins, that's what becomes bad.
Oh, yeah. I've seen a website one time that had like 30 plugins. I said, how can, what's this about? And then they're wondering why their site's slow.
Yeah.
You realize each one of those plugins has a CSS, their own CSS, and it's not all merged and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
So that's what I liked about it. And now I can build really fast with it. When you think about it, almost every website is the same. Just the pictures are the same, Got the top bar, the logo area, the navigation, and then you start with the copy. That's it. And then you have the footers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you'll like it as you work with it.
Oh, it's good rolling up the sleeves and
Oh, I still like building sites.
yeah.
Figuring out what goes on them and all that stuff, right?
Yeah. And your functionality is a little bit different for every site. And if you're building for somebody else, you also have to deal with their preferences. But
yeah, that's a hard one. Sometimes they have some pretty, funny. It's funny how they think things work.
Well, a lot of times people don't necessarily think through that.
No, unfortunately.
It's like that client you get who has the ideal keyword in mind for their product, and it's something that nobody in the world would ever search for.
Right.
And you've got to explain to them why it's not a good choice of a keyword.
Yeah, or people, yeah. I had that where people were, where the client was obsessing over these, over this term, finally just told them, well, is your product new? No. Well, then how do you expect to be found for new products? It was autos. They were basically sold used cars only, and they wanted to be found. They thought that they should rank before Ford Taurus on the Ford site. They thought they should outrank Ford Taurus, the Ford site.
As a used car dealer,
It was a big site, though. It was a big. If I said the name of it, everybody in the UK and probably Canada and it started in North America, I think.
yeah, there's distributors and there are manufacturers.
And then there's used car.
Yeah.
Right, which is almost like the back door on most agencies or new car sites.
My expectation is that if I search for Ford, the number one site in search results should be Ford.
Unless you're looking for used cars, and then it should be one of the used car ones where you can see a whole bunch of them. I truly believe that in the first results, Google likes to see 2 or 3 aggregators on something like that.
On the first page?
Yeah. Because if you're starting, right?
Yeah.
Used car Toronto. What's the best? You want you want to see a whole bunch. You want to see what's available, not what a specific company has, right?
Right.
And Google started doing that again. They didn't do it for a little while. And then all of a sudden they've started doing it again. Maybe they've stopped again, but we were having a lot of trouble with it last summer where we were always in the top 10, and then all of a sudden, all of the aggregators were there. That's something I should check because I was surprised to see them back in ranking again. I should look at the results. That's a problem when you just look at a ranking report. You don't see the other 9 that placed on that page, you know what I mean? And that can be really helpful in figuring out why you're not ranking.
You learn so much from SERP places.
Sir, I think just knowing the real estate too, because sometimes it's better to be 4th or 5th than to be 1 or 2.
Yeah.
Depending on the term, right?
So I worked with a Delaware incorporation business, and it always made a lot more money when it was ranked number 2 than when it was ranked number 1.
Right.
Because the site it was usually ranked number 2 behind was the Delaware Division of Corporations, which was informational only. It didn't sell anything. You couldn't incorporate through them directly. You had to go through a registered agent.
So they were an aggregator.
So people would visit their site, read it, see the list of registered agents that could help them register a business, which included the business I was working for, and say, "Oh, okay, I can go to that place."
Right.
And they'd go back to the search results, click on number 2, and incorporate their business.
Yeah, like for instance, SEOs. If you're looking for a company, you're probably better to go to some place that just lists those companies than to go to Google or or one of those destinations, because they're just, they're not just going to give you companies that are doing SEO. They're going to throw in a whole bunch of other info sites, and
it's tough sometimes knowing which site you should trust to go to see listings of other companies. Like for lawyers, I would want to see Martindale Hubble, which is a legal directory, lists lawyers, and it's a reputable one.
Right. But there's a couple of those.
Most people don't know what a Martindale Hubble is.
Right. But that would be an aggregator that's probably in the top 10.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. There's another one that you often see in the top 10 for lawyers, a directory for lawyers, paid directory.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine they're all paid, eh? If they're getting a decent amount of traffic, they're paid.
Yeah, it's like for doctors, there's one called Top Docs, which has lots of reviews and so on for lawyers. And it's they're fairly good at doing things like creating schema and so on. They tend to rank highly.
Yeah, I used to have a friend I think did psychologists. Or I knew it was something to do with medicine. He had a directory back. That was back while he was a member of that. He was on the committee at SEO Pros.
Yeah, you can promote your own website, but sometimes you want to be included in some of those aggregators too.
For local, they're huge. They're quite often the guys with the most authority.
Yeah.
Like when that's what kind of when I was still working with clients, we were having a lot of trouble with the first 10. 5 of them would be aggregators. And, not even located in Toronto. They were some were even in Europe.
So you're competing against aggregators in another country, another continent.
They may have been, they were on several called LoopNet for offices.
Yeah.
They were probably the biggest, seemed to be international. Any others I saw seemed to be US or Canada or both. Or the UK, you know what I mean? EU.
Yeah. Well, we're at the top of the hour, Terry.
Yeah.
So it's good talking to you today.
Yeah. Good thing I showed up, or it would have been a very slow show.
It would have been. But it's okay. I've got some things to. No, I'm not going to say that. So it is good having you all here. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. See y'all later.
Take care now.